Srimati Kirron Kher.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker, sir. First, I'd like to say that Mr. Prem Chandran was saying that what is the need to bring an ordinance in on the 18th of April. If only the Honorable Opposition had allowed the House to function during the budget session, we would not have been forced to do so with so many things. And also I would like to say that you keep referring very selectively to one or two cases, which I think is politicizing a matter that pertains to the entire country and all women in general and children in general. And I take strong objection to you bringing up, picking and choosing one or two areas. You don't talk about other areas, which I will not dignify by replying to. ठीक है दादा, हो गया छे. I rise to support this historic piece of legislation today. These are times when we are confronted with the gruesome reality of an increasing number of innocent children in the country, especially girls, in the danger of losing their childhood to unspeakable violence. The Criminal Law Amendment Ordinance was a rightly timed promulgation, and the bill that we are discussing today is indeed a welcome piece of proposed legislation by the Home Ministry. Before 2014, we had the horrific case of Nirbhaya's gang rape and brutal murder. We saw the entire country rising as one against it, and this Parliament passed a stringent law against it. In spite of this, we see climbing dark statistics coupled with horrifying details in newspapers. This bill reflects the long-awaited hope of the country for a safer future for our young girls and children. It is an indisputable fact, sir, that cases relating to sexual offences require handling with extreme sensitivity every step of the way. Keeping with this principle, this bill comprehensively amends relevant laws relating to rape to explicitly extend coverage to victims who are minors. For instance, this bill suitably amends Section 53A and the proviso under Section 146 of the Indian Evidence Act 1872 to ensure that evidence of character or previous sexual experience has no bearing on cases relating to rape of girls under 12 and 16 years. Contrary to claims of hasty and knee-jerk response by some sections, the provisions of this bill are undoubtedly well thought out and in sync with current realities. We have all heard the terrible truth about children of 2 or 3 years being raped. How can we, as legislators, not bring in more stringent laws? And if we don't, how do we reconcile it with our conscience? Leaving no room for ambiguity, the Indian Penal Code has been amended to insert new sections dealing with the rape and gang rape of women below 12 and 16 years of age. Rightfully so, the penalties for these crimes, for which even heinous seems like an understatement, have been strengthened so that we can say with certainty that the punishment actually fits the crime. For those who have been expressing a blanket disapproval of the death penalty, I would like to ask, how can a lesser penalty possibly be justified for repeat offenders? For too long, delayed and lengthy trials have exacerbated the trauma of victims, and hence the proposed amendments to the Code of Criminal Procedure promises to change this scenario. This bill recognizes that a time-bound investigation and disposal of appeals is the right of every victim, and none should suffer the pain of delayed justice. Thus, the provisions reducing the time period of completion of investigations from 3 to 2 months and disposal of appeals within 6 months have been extended to all cases of rape with no bar on the victim's age. We see so much delay in these cases, sir. The judgment for the Nirbhaya case has been delivered after 4 years. Is this not a case of justice delayed is justice denied? It is commendable that the government, this government, is already taking important measures in this direction, with a great push being given to setting up of special fast-track courts providing forensic kits to hospitals and dedicated manpower, a significant step in the Honorable PM's Beti Bachao mission. Another noteworthy provision of this bill, which leaves no room for doubt on this government's zero tolerance of these crimes, is the denial of anticipatory bail for persons accused of rape under relevant sections of the IPC. Stories abound of the ease with which accused in POCSO cases are able to obtain bail and the resultant trauma experienced by the victims and their families. While it is true that there is a just purpose behind Section 438 of the Code of Criminal Procedure, or anticipatory bail as we know it, we need to accept that this section has been widely abused. It has already been long recognized that this has turned into an empowering tool for the accused to circumvent the due process of justice. The newly inserted subsection 4 is therefore a justified limit to the application of this section, which will ensure that there is no demoralizing effect on the victims. I believe that these and other provisions of the bill reflect the will of the people at large and will go a long way in creating a future that sees no more of such incidents that shake a nation's conscience. However, we must not stop at enacting new legislations alone. It is deeply unfortunate that there is still in some places such a flagrant disregard for guidelines that requires authorities to respect the sensitive nature of these cases. To be more explicit, in spite of guidelines issued by the government to focus more on victim and witness testimonies, physical examination continues to be heavily relied on in rape cases, which in no uncertain terms is intrusive and undignified and violates the girls and children. Sir, in these last 4.5 years, I have stood up many times and spoken for the women of this country against rape, against stalking, many such incidents that happened across the country, not just in certain states, as Mr. Prem Chandran would like to emphasize on. I extend my wholehearted support to this bill, and it is clearly a step in the right direction, and I have full faith that the government will also appropriately deal with persons who violate its guidelines. ये बिल नारी के सम्मान का बिल है। जो लाल किले से आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री ने नारियों के सम्मान और बच्चियों की रक्षा की बात की थी, ये बिल उसी दिशा में एक ऐतिहासिक कदम है। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर।
धन्यवाद।